Welcome everyone, join us today as we honor the memory and legacy of Pete Way, the leather-clad force on the bass guitar, who was loud, wild, unapologetically rock and roll, and the heart and soul of group UFO. So let's dive in. Peter Frederick Way, born the 7th of August 1950, in Enfield, Middlesex, in England. Raised in a middle-class family in Enfield, Pete was born to Ruth and Fred, both of whom had served during the war, his father in the Air Force before becoming a sales manager, and his mother in the Land Army before settling into life as a housewife and school dinner lady. He had a younger brother Neil, 5 years his junior. Pete attended Merry Hills Primary School, then George Spicer Grammar School, where he excelled at sports, particularly football and middle-distance running, even earning medals in cross-country. From an early age, Pete was drawn to model railways, a lifelong passion he continued to enjoy until his death. But it was music that truly captured his imagination. Seeing Elvis Presley in Jailhouse Rock, followed by the rise of the Beatles, sparked something in him, but it was the Rolling Stones that truly lit the fire. He picked up the bass guitar and began playing with friends, eventually forming his first band, the Boyfriends, alongside guitarist Mick Bolton and drummer Tick Torino. They played occasional gigs at colleges and youth clubs, and the lineup grew stronger with the addition of vocalist Phil Mogg, a close friend of Pete's. The band soon rebranded as Hocus Pocus. After leaving school, Pete held a couple of day jobs. First as a junior clerk at a maritime insurance company in London, and later as a civil servant with the Ministry of Defence. Around that time, Phil moved out of home, and he, Mick, and Tick shared a rented semi-detached house, just up the road from his family home. It wasn't until Andy Parker replaced their original drummer in 1968 that the band solidified their identity and officially became UFO. They began gigging at small venues like the Foresters Arms in Bermondsey, with their sights firmly set on making it to the legendary Marquee Club. Eventually, they signed to Beacon Records, run by Antiguan-born Milton Samuel. Their debut album, UFO 1, released in 1970, was rooted in early hard rock and featured a heavy take on the Eddie Cochran classic, Come On Everybody. While neither UFO 1 nor its follow-up, UFO 2 Flying, broke into the UK or US charts, they found modest success in Germany, with Boogie for George reaching number 30, while Prince Kajuku, from the second album, peaked at number 26. At the time, UFO's space rock leanings, particularly evident on Flying, which included a 26-minute title track and a 19-minute Star Storm, earned them a niche following, but the band began to feel confined by the genre's limitations. They released a live album, recorded during a concert in Tokyo, at the end of 1971. However, creative tensions soon boiled over, and in January 1972, guitarist Mick Bolton left after clashing with Phil Mogg and Andy Parker. Determined to evolve their sound into something more grounded in classic rock, the group set out in search of a new guitarist to help take UFO to the next level. After short stints with guitarists Larry Wallace and Bernie Marsden, who toured Europe and recorded a couple of demos, UFO brought in 18-year-old Michael Schenker from the Scorpions in June 1973. Despite his age, Schenker was already highly regarded. Now signed to Chrysalis Records, the band released the non-album single, Give Her the Gun, and B-side, Sweet Little Thing, with producer Derek Lawrence. In 1974, with producer Leo Lyons, they recorded Phenomenon, marking a shift to a heavier guitar-driven sound. The album featured fan favorites like Doctor Doctor and Rock Bottom, the latter becoming a live staple showcasing Schenker's solos. During the tour, Paul Chapman briefly joined on second guitar but left in early 1975 to form Lone Star. UFO gained traction in the US and UK with Fawcett in 1975, and No Heavy Petting in 1976, the latter featuring Danny Peyronel on keys and vocals. In 1976, Paul Raymond joined, bringing rhythm guitar and keyboards for the 1977 album Lights Out, which featured standout tracks like Too Hot to Handle and Love to Love. The album earned critical praise and saw them touring major arenas with acts like Rush and AC/DC. Their follow-up, Obsession in 1978, wasn't as big but kept them on the arena circuit. The live album Strangers in the Night, recorded during that tour, became a major success in 1979, hitting number 7 in the UK and cementing their reputation with tours alongside Kiss, Cheap Trick, Thin Lizzy, and more. In October 1978, Schenker left UFO and was replaced by Paul Chapman, who brought fresh ideas from his time with Lone Star. Their next album, No Place to Run in 1980, produced by George Martin, narrowly missed the UK top 10 but didn't match earlier successes. After the tour, Paul Raymond departed and was briefly replaced by John Sloman, then Neil Carter, who became a key contributor. Carter's first show with UFO was headlining the Reading Festival in August 1980. In early 1981, they released The Wild, the Willing and the Innocent, which leaned toward a lighter pop-rock sound and reached the UK Top 20. Mechanics followed in 1982, peaking at number 8 in the UK, their highest charting album. UFO were confirming themselves as one of the preeminent rock acts of their generation, with Pete co-writing a string of classic tunes that included Shoot Shoot, Natural Thing, Too Hot to Handle and Only You Can Rock Me. Despite their rock star image, UFO stayed grounded, with Pete remaining a down-to-earth approachable figure, and a familiar face in London's late-night scene throughout the 70s and 80s. On stage, often playing a low-slung Gibson Thunderbird bass and wearing a polka-dotted outfit, he quickly became a fan favorite. His distinctive bass playing and magnetic presence gave UFO a strong visual and musical counterpart to Phil Mogg. However, Pete was becoming more and more unhappy with the band's shift to a more commercial style, and by 1982, decided to leave the band. By late 1982, Pete teamed up with ex-Motorhead guitarist Fast Eddie Clarke and Humble Pie drummer Jerry Shirley to form Fastway, named after the two founders. However, before the band could record their debut album, Pete accepted an offer to join Ozzy Osbourne's band, a move that proved short-lived. After the Diary of a Madman tour, Pete went on to form his own band, Waysted, alongside Finn Muir, Paul Raymond, Frank Noon, and Ronnie Cafield. Their debut album Vices was released in 1983 and reached number 78 on the UK Albums Chart. This was followed by The Good, the Bad, the Wasted in 1985, and then Save Your Prayers in 1986, which saw Danny Vaughan replacing Muir on vocals, peaking at number 185. After a brief return to UFO in 1988-89, Pete reunited more permanently with Phil Mogg in 1991 as part of a reformed lineup. Over the next 17 years, he recorded 6 albums with the band: High Stakes and Dangerous Men in 1992, Walk on Water in 1995, Covenant in 2000, Sharks in 2002, You Are Here in 2004, and The Monkey Puzzle in 2006. He also revived Waysted during this time. In 2008, health issues forced him to step away from UFO once more. Pete later released 2 albums under the Damage Control name, the first recorded with Robin George, Spike, and Chris Slade, and the second as a trio with George and Pete sharing lead vocals. In 2018, he launched the Pete Way Band, featuring guitarist Camel Wadge, later replaced by Tim Scopes, Jason Poole, Clive Edwards, and occasional guest appearances by Lawrence Archer during UK tours. Pete also contributed bass to the Warfare track, Misanthropy, alongside Evo and Fast Eddie Clarke, released posthumously in 2021 via Cherry Red Records. In 2017, Pete shared his life story in an autobiography titled A Fast Ride Out of Here, Confessions of Rock's Most Dangerous Man, written with music journalist Paul Rees. 3 years later, in 2020, renowned rock photographer Ross Halfin published a photographic tribute to him, simply titled Pete Way, by Ross Halfin. On a personal note, Pete was married 6 times. His first wife, Yvonne, was a colleague from his early days working at the customs office. They had a daughter, Zoe, but eventually divorced due to long periods apart. His second marriage, to Josephine, lasted around 5 years and produced another daughter, Charlotte. His third wife, Bethina, a Danish model who shared Pete's fast-paced lifestyle, sadly passed away after their separation due to continued struggles with addiction. His fourth marriage was to Joanna, an American doctor he met after a show in the US. Tragically, Pete later found her deceased from a heroin overdose. He next married Rashida, also American, though this relationship also ended in divorce. His sixth and final marriage was to Jenny, who remained by his side until his passing. Sadly, on the 14th of August 2020, Pete Way passed away just a week after celebrating his 70th birthday, due to injuries sustained from a fall down the stairs at his home 2 months earlier. Prior to the accident, he had faced several health challenges, including prostate cancer treatment in 2013 and a heart attack in 2016. At the time of his passing, he was survived by his wife Jenny, daughters Zoe and Charlotte, and younger brother Neil. And there you have it. Though Pete Way is no longer with us, his thunderous bass lines will always be remembered through the decades of rock history, leaving a trail of chaos, charisma, and unforgettable music. Despite his battles off stage, he never lost the fire that defined his sound and continues to inspire generations of rockers. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.